Hello everyone, I'm Tom Nosy. This is the Chinese fish head peasant Fei-fiiii. I haven't uploaded any YouTube video for over 2 months now because I unexpectedly went viral on TikTok. I got over 800,000 views and more than 10,000 new fans in a short period of time. I didn't even get 4,000 in YouTube for like 1 year. So I got a bit carried away by the rush of popularity and I decided to take a break from YouTube. But I think I'm rested now and I'm back. So without further ado, let's get into today's topic. Recently, after Sweet Baby Inc. and its influence over game companies came to light, political correctness or American political correctness has become a very popular topic in gaming communities. This is true in China as well. A lot of game-related content creators have been talking about these events. This really helps us appreciate some of the ongoing controversies. For instance, many Chinese viewers are quite unhappy with the diversification we see in TV shows and movies. This is reflected in box office results. We're not fans of the new version of Little Mermaid, or Snow White, or Captain America. And I've previously explained this in a video. Let me be clear, it's not due to racism. We're just reacting against the clumsy writing and poor character portrayals. We're not stupid. We can tell when something's made with care and when it's not. And that directly impacts whether we are willing to pay for it. And resistance to this kind of political correctness might just be yielding results. Apex is a great example. We're getting a new, very handsome, charming character. My new husband, Spyro. He's even with a cat, and he's really sweet. I'm a Loba man after all, so I think it's fun for him to be my in-game husband, right?
I got you.
Aren't you helpful? Thank you.
I will always protect you. No, I won't let you go.
Thanks. You're a sweet boy.
Oh, nessun problema. Ti amo.
But that's a side note. Today's main topic is about political correctness in Chinese games. It's a completely different story from the West. I think some of you know that earrings, cigarettes, and tattoos are prohibited from appearing in Chinese media. Some TV shows even blurred a man's earring or characters smoke, and children's programs were forced to take down content featuring magical girls with multicolor hair. As a character concept designer at a game company, I have been directly influenced by these regulations. I'm often told not to include religious symbols, not to show too much characters' skins, and even to avoid adding a character's tattoo. This is especially confusing because many games are rich in traditional culture, and Taoism and Buddhism are a huge part of that. Some character designs even incorporate these elements, yet we are forced to erase them. For me, the Bagua diagram isn't just a religious element. It's a significant symbol in Chinese culture, a representation of universal balance and order. So when I see South Korea putting it boldly on its flag while we avoid it, I honestly find it ridiculous. This not only restricts creative expression, it also puts our traditional culture at risk. So I grew more and more curious. I wanted to know why this kind of political correctness exists in Chinese games. Because honestly, I couldn't think of a single thing that inherently awful about tattoos, earrings, multicolored hair, or religious symbols, or that would harm the game's moral climate. The more I researched, the more I was shocked by what I found. It really opened my eyes. First of all, there's actually no official documents stating that these elements are prohibited. Instead, political correctness in the Chinese content typically means complying with the country's ideology and political direction, avoiding sensitive historical, ethnic, territory, or religious issues, promoting the core value of socialism, not depicting violence, pornography, or vulgar content. This kind of seemingly clear but actually very vague concept means that the power of interpretation is completely in the hands of the authorities. Yes, we do have explicit view standards in our country. Games and other forms of media need to pass content reviews by organizations such as the Publicity Department of the Communist Party, the National Radio and Television Administration, and other regulators. Some people may think I'm going to say that this is an overly restrictive censorship system. And while that's not true, it's not the whole story. This is just one side of it. We need to highlight a very important consideration for officials under a one-party state. We're not a one-party state, by the way. We're just a one-party rule country. Something like that. It's another story. Anyways, their performance is largely evaluated by a metric called social stability. Stability is a crucial indicator for assessing their competency in governance, quite different from a multi-party system, where voter support is a main criteria. Here, the most important votes for officials come from the happiness and satisfaction of the majority of the people, and their complaints should be kept in a minimum. Yes, we do have channels for expression and complaints. Government departures typically have supervision and reporting mechanism. If you are dissatisfied with something, you can submit your opinion or report through these channels. Consider China's vast population of 1.4 billion people with their different educational backgrounds, cultural traditions, and habits. A large portion of them are quite conservative. There's a huge group of parents see games as addictive electronic drugs, believing games cause poor academic performance or descent into bad behavior. They are especially opposed to anything unconventional, whether it's tattoos, smoke, dye hair, or revealing clothing. And they're quite adapted at using a report mechanism. And some government officials may not completely understand these things, or may even share the views of these conservative parents. So when the number of complaints reaches a certain point, they may simply adopt a better safe than sorry approach, removing content, cutting scenes, or even taking games down. This is why we see black and green blood in games, imported films with sex scenes or even cases removed, and heavy censorship of violence. Other sensitive or socially disruptive content, for instance, related to religion, LGBTQ relationships, and negativity, may be cut or removed. Sometimes even important lines of dialogue get removed, which really impact the experience. But at this point, at least for me, it's understandable. This doesn't necessarily mean individual expression and creativity are prohibited, but their platforms become much narrower and less visible in the mainstream media. But with the development of the internet, many people can still find their own space and a platform to make their voice heard. At the same time, I hope that young people can be bold and positively express their preferences and let the older generation know that these are not the things that are harmful for society. But just like the DEI movements in the West, their intent is good. One is meant to keep society stable and running smoothly, and the other is meant to celebrate cultural diversity. But they can be manipulated by people with an agenda, turning them into something else entirely. The conservative parents' complaints I mentioned before haven't really had much of direct impact on creativity, because for them, whatever you create is a problem. They are against the games as a whole, not against the details. But when companies report each other, that's when it really strikes the weak spots. Competitors can seize upon something trivial and report it, prompting regulators to sum the companies in question. Usually there's no real punishment, but just to avoid suspicion, companies will voluntarily avoid adding this kind of content. Reporting leads to companies and platforms self-censorship. That's why we see so many restrictive guidelines with no clear policy documents. Everything is based on experience and guessing, and different regulators apply different standards. Sometimes we even see games and films get a pass and move forward unhindered. For instance, the film Red Sea Action, which is filled with body battle scenes, or Black Mass Wukong, which includes severed limbs. pools of blood, and religious imagery. At the time, we thought that there might be heavy cuts, but in the end, everything was released as is, without interference. I'm sure many complaints were made, but there was no follow-up action. Yes, in China, everything that gets reported to regulators will at least be investigated, typically by a phone call or meeting with the involved parties. Usually after that, companies will self-censor and avoid further controversy. This, in my view, is a real reason for creative restrictions. Some players even report games to regulators in order to pursue their own agendas. Some companies are justified, like making gacha drop rates more transparent, but some are not. For instance, when someone reports a game simply because its character design doesn't align with their preferences, or even reporting a competitor's game. It's harder to see what this kind of practice might become in the future, whether we'll see a backlash against it, much like the large-scale anti-DEI movement in the West. All of these form a unique cultural phenomenon in China. It's not just a matter of policy, but a combination of regulatory mechanisms, social complaints, and platform self-censorship. Creating art and content under these conditions make it nearly impossible to find a standard that everyone is happy with. Overall, while political correctness is implemented in both the East and the West with good intentions, the actual effects on games and players' experience are restrictive and divisive. In the West, it alienates some players and disregards their preferences, while in China it results in homogeneous content and limited creative expression. You can only tell stories about heroes and positivity, avoiding more realistic or complex subjects. One side is self-restricting due to excess freedom, while the other is knocked down by a combination of policy and public opinion. I honestly don't know where this is headed or how we can solve these problems. But as a gamer, I wish to experience high-caliber stories from different cultural backgrounds with their own unique expression. And as a creator, I wish I could create without heavy burdens or worries, whether it's games, films, TV shows, or animation. What are your thoughts about this? I'm really looking forward to reading your comments so we can discuss this issue together. Also, if there are any other topics or phenomena you'd like to hear my perspective on, feel free to leave a message and let me know. So that's all for today's video. Thank you so much for being with me this far. As always, if I make any mistake that confused you, please correct me. Thanks for your support. So until next time, stay safe, stay positive, and peace. Bye bye.